What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're tackling r/EntitledParents. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story is from Shygirl turned sassy. I've seen that name around. Entitled Aunt Tried to Kill Our Dog. Back in September 2008, my grandmother had a heart attack and had to be hospitalised. I'd recently moved out of my parental home. My stepbrother too had moved out just a year earlier. When my dad and stepmum were taking turns staying with her in hospital, my paternal aunt would just drop in for a few minutes, make small talk and leave. She suggested that my dad should kill our dog Dennis. The reason she gave for this kick in the arse worthy advice was that Dennis was a black dog and black dogs bring bad luck. What the actual fuck? Her mother was obviously in the hospital because of the dog, and certainly not because, in spite of being a diabetic and having high cholesterol, she refused to stop stuffing her face with fried junk. My dad, of course, told her to shut her trap. Just a few days later, Grandmonster kicked the proverbial bucket, cueing saying willing and crying from my aunt, while going on and on about how she wouldn't have lost her mother if only that damn dog had been put down. You may wonder why she was so obsessed with killing Dennis. It's because Dennis had never liked her or her husband and son. He would growl at them when they came near him. He was a smart dog, and I guess he could sense what shit people they were. Dennis was a mongrel, 24 inches at the withers, and weighed around 90 pounds. So of course when he growled, he appeared intimidating. She was also really jealous of him, and always commented on how we were wasting money by feeding and caring for him well. Grandmonster's illness and subsequent death gave Crazy Aunt an opportunity to get revenge. I began to fear for Dennis as soon as I heard what that piece of shit had said. My stepbrother couldn't make it. I decided to take time off work and go to my dad's place. This was mostly to watch over Dennis and make sure that my aunt and her family didn't get a chance to harm him. My dad made arrangements for the funeral, talked to the priest, etc., while stepmom and I cooked and got the house ready. My aunt was there too, but mostly milking the occasion for attention and being a crying, wailing basket case. She was still going on about how the dog had brought the bad luck. However, when my stepmom told me to cook Dennis's chicken stew for him while she took a bath and got dressed, Aunt began to act real funny. She would hang around the kitchen and near the food, on the pretense of making small talk with me. I just gave her monosyllabic responses, hoping she would fuck off. Just as I got the stew off the burner, I heard my dad walk through the front door. He called out to me, probably needing my help with something. I began walking towards the front gate in a hurry. However, as I reached the door, I was overcome with a horrible feeling. In my haste, I had left Crazy Aunt alone with Dennis's food. I ran back to the kitchen, with my dad asking me what the hell was wrong. I entered the kitchen to find that monumental cunt pouring some sort of white substance into Dennis's chicken stew. My father took it from my aunt's hands and instantly identified it as a kind of rat poison. I watched that substance get dissolved in the stew and disappear, leaving no trace of foul play. If Aunt hadn't gotten caught, we'd have surely lost our beloved family member. Aunt just stood there with a deer in a headlights look on her face. I can't remember the last time I'd seen my dad so angry. He told her she was to attend Grandmonster's funeral and then never to show him her face again. While I somehow overcame the urge to throttle her, my stepmom too had joined us and was told what happened. Aunt somehow stammered that she was doing what was right for the family, repeating the nonsense about black dogs being bad luck. Of course, no one was having it. My uncle arrived shortly afterwards, and in spite of being a grade A arsehole himself, he did have the decency to look ashamed when he was told what his wife had tried to pull. My dad didn't speak to them for over 2 years. He only contacted them again when he found out that they were in a dire state financially. As for Dennis, the good boy lived a long and healthy life. He passed away a year later at the age of 14, surrounded by those who truly loved him. Wow. It's, you know, on Entitled Parent Stories, it never surprises me how low people can go. You know, trying to poison a dog because it's black is bad luck. I mean, what the hell? What kind of logic is that? That's some insane mentality. Imagine having to live with someone who thinks like that. That's got to be absolutely insane. But I'm glad Dennis lived a good, healthy life. 14 is a good age for a dog. What would you do if someone tried to do that sort of thing to one of your pets, one of your loved family members? How would you react to someone like that? I think my fist would be through their face, but let me know how you would feel or what you would do in the comments below. Our next story is from Wolf156. entitled couple threatens a discrimination suit. Me again from the good old animal shelter. This one may ruffle a few jimmies. Oh god, I ain't heard that in ages. Sorry. This one may ruffle a few jimmies. I just want to preface by saying all I'm doing is reporting what happened. As I said before, animal shelters are magnets for the entitled, and this story is no different. Now this happened at the end of last December. Our shelter got in what we refer to as a unicorn. That means we got a young French bulldog puppy. To a county animal shelter, this is extremely rare, as these dogs usually come from breeders or puppy stores and will go up to $4,000 a pup. It's like finding a brand new Ferrari in a thrift store. Of course, the moment this dog is in our system, we have a line of people already wanting to adopt it. Now our county shelter has a policy where we hold any stray animals for 72 hours to give any owners a chance to reclaim their lost pet before the pet becomes property of the county, and we look to rehoming them. The first day this Frenchie was in our shelter, we had 8 different families put their names on a list to adopt. Our shelter is a first come, first served shelter, so we could call the first name on the list, and if they didn't want the pup or couldn't take them, we'd call the second, and so on and so on. Pretty much these people were in the line to adopt this one pupper. Now this story happened the last day of the stray hold period, before the dog was even asked to adopt out. A gay couple comes into a shelter eager to adopt a new pup for their new apartment they just moved into. EC will be the entitled couple, and me will be me. I say, "Hey there, how you're doing?" "Good, we're looking to adopt." "Awesome, a dog or a cat?" "A dog please." "Okay, what kind of dog are you looking for?" "We would like a small dog please." "Well, I'll let you know we don't have any small dogs available, but I'll take you through the kennels and we'll see if any of our dogs catch your eye." I take them through the kennels, and of course what we have the most of are pits and bully breeds that are usually not allowed in an apartment. I keep trying to ask them questions and show them dogs, but at this point they're just ignoring me and talking to each other. Of course we walk through the kennel, they see the Frenchie, and that's when they lose it. "Oh my god, that's the one we want!" I then say, "Oh well, this guy has a pretty long waiting list on him." I point to the sign on the kennel saying he already has adopters lined up for him. The entitled couple say, no, we want him now." "Well, I can put your names on the list in case the other adopters aren't available to take him or don't want him." EC scoffs and one rolls their eyes. "No, we're not going on a list. We want him now." Then I say, "Well, even if he did have the adopters lined up already, he's still on the stray hold period, so we can't actually adopt him." I get cut off. "We want him now." "I can't give him to you, he's not ours yet." And cut off again. "I don't care, give him to us now." To which I say, "No." At this point, I figure they're not going to let me explain anything, so I just flat out say no. They both go quiet and look at each other. One smugly smiles and says, "He'll be leaving with us by the end of the day." At that point, they walked out and leave the shelter. I walk back into the front office and tell the office staff what happened, as they heard the yelling, even over the dogs barking. We all kind of shrug it off as empty threats from crazy entitled people, stuff we are used to by now. An hour later we get a call from the county's human resource office. EC called them and threw a fit, told them we're refusing to adopt to them based on their sexuality, and if they don't get the dog, they are suing for discrimination and contacting the news. The higher ups lose their shit and immediately give in to their demands. They tell us to give them the dog and not even charge an adoption fee. Shortly after that, in walks EC with smug grins. The entitled couple say, "We'll be taking our baby." As the office staff hand over the French bulldog, they turn to me. "Told you." They walk out with the dog in their arms. Now here's where the karma kicks in. French bulldogs, while cute, have extreme separation anxiety, among some other not so favourable habits. They are great dogs if you take care of them. EC did not take care of the dog. Super Bowl weekend, and we are hosting a big adoption party for the shelter dogs. Basically a come in and adopt them please for the love of God we have no kennel space party. In walks EC, pissed off and ranting and raving about how we adopted a monster out to them. Basically both of them work, so the dog is left alone most of the day, and made the most of his time destroying their apartment. They showed us pictures of poop smeared into carpet, and that the landlord is now demanding they pay to replace. Furniture ripped to pieces, urine stains and expensive mattresses they had to throw out. They demanded we take the dog back and reimburse them for the damage to their property. We take the dog back and tell them that they're not getting reimbursed for anything. They scoff again and threaten to sue us until our frontless Daily pulls out the adoption paperwork they signed at the time of the original adoption. that said they are 100% responsible for the dog and that the shelter is no longer responsible for the animal at the time of the adoption. So even if they took us to court, they would have a bad time. They start losing their shit and say they're called human resources again. I tell them that won't do them any good as they signed a legal contract, but they are welcome to try. They gave me a smug smile again, call HR and proceed to scream at the phone that they don't get their way. HR told them the same thing we did. They signed the contract, they took ownership of the dog, they're not getting shit and the county has a lawyer on hand should they want to take this to court. At this point they're completely defeated. I smile as they turn to walk out and say, "Told you." 2 days later the puppy got adopted to an old lady who has 2 other Frenchies and spends all day of her retirement spoiling them. And what a nice story that is, that the French Bulldog got a nice home in the end. But what I don't understand about this story, I'm sure this isn't all with all kennels in the UK, but I certainly know some of them. If you're adopting, they have to properly vet your house. They go round and check if your apartment's suitable, if you've got kids, and they actually sort of match your house to the dog kind of thing. Is that not the same thing in a lot of kennels in the US? I'm in two minds about it because I think if the puppy's desperate for a home, then, I know not all homes are suitable, but some people are really loving and they should just be given the pets to look after, But in the case of this couple, are complete idiots that got no clue what they're doing. Surely they should have been vetted in the first place and that situation wouldn't have arose. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, So correct me here. When I've got less responsibilities in life, I'm definitely going to adopt the dog. I don't want to get one from a breeder. I want to just sort of adopt the poor dogs that don't really have a chance, that everyone seems to overlook, the older dogs, I just feel so bad for them. Our next story is from A Beaver Horsing. EM destroys art installation. M entitled Mum, SD Sand Dude. Last summer we were at a beach festival and one of the activities was a sand sculpture contest. There were many intricate and beautiful sculptures, including one of Cinderella's castle. I'm not a Disney fan, but the guy making it did a great job. It was hard to believe it was made out of sand. As he was finishing up, an entitled mum approached with her kid, probably 3 or 4 years old, and the conversation went something like this. EM said, "That's really beautiful. Thanks, I've been working on it for hours. My daughter loves Cinderella and she wants to help you." Meanwhile, the kid is just standing there and not indicating in any way she either loves Cinderella or wants to help. Sandu says, "That's really nice, but this is pretty detailed. If you want, you can use my tools to make your own castle." EM, her voice is so shrill that dogs within a mile were probably whining in pain. She doesn't want to work on some baby castle. She wants to work on Cinderella's castle, and you will let her help you. Meanwhile, Kid is still not indicating any desire to work on any castle. Sandu then says, "I'm sorry then, I can't help you." "What's wrong with you anyway? A grown man playing in the sand? What are you, retarded?" "Yes, she went there. Or are you trying to lure kids over here so you can molest them?" "I need to get back to work now. Could you please step back?" EM says, "I'll show you." At this point, EM ducked under the tape around, marched right through the sculpture, reducing it to a big clump of sand. EM said, "Your stupid castle was ugly anyway." Sandude and everyone else within hearing distance just stood there with his mouth open. I don't know what happened then, because I'm a wimp as far as confrontation goes, so I fled. But man, what a bitch. I love that ending. You just thought... I just love that ending, that you were there just spectating this and you still thought, fuck this, I'm out. To be fair, I'd be pretty much the same. I'd be like, nah, I don't want no part of this. Love that ending. Our next story is from brainwithoutamouth. Posted this before on r/entitledredditors, and hopefully now I have enough karma to put it on r/entitledparents. So this was happened before I was born, specifically when my older sister, OS, was a newborn. Our entitled grandmother, EG, is very, very Catholic, the holier than thou type that just hearing that phrase should set your teeth on edge. But I digress. While not a terrible person, she can be a bit much. Anyway, my parents, being the rebels they were, went with a radical idea of letting their kids choose their own religion, i.e. not tying them down to Catholicism with a baptism. EG didn't like this, not one bit. From what my mum told me, EG tried pressuring them into giving OS a baptism, especially leaning on Dad, her son, saying it was tradition, that they have to do it. Her reasoning was that, according to doctrine, Human beings are born with original sin, and baptism is the only way to, mostly, cleanse it. The thing is, this implies that those who aren't baptized are going to hell. Mum had had enough. Mum said, "You think that my baby is going to hell?" E.g., immediately realising what she was actually implying. "No, and Mum cuts her off. "You actually think that my innocent baby, who doesn't even have a bad thought in her head, is going to hell, and you, with all your years of living, are going to heaven?" E.g. didn't even have much to say after that, and from the sounds of it, she never tried to pressure my parents into baptising their kids again. Didn't stop her with trying, and succeeding with my cousin, but still. I think most people are accepting of everything these days, but when you try, forcing your opinion on others, that's when you sort of start to lose the battle now. Especially with religion and stuff. Yeah, you can't force others to baptise their baby and say they're going to hell and all that sort of stuff. Not that she did, but implying that, I mean, come on. Our next story is from Serious Lampshade. Entitled Mother believes the rules don't apply to her. My kid had just started high school, and since it's the beginning of school year in Australia, there's plenty of parents who are just adjusting to how high school works. There's specific rules about pickup zones, no stopping zones, parking zones, etc. Mainly to keep the kids safe when crossing a busy road outside the school. Enter EM, who for the last few days has decided the rules don't apply to her. EM has a very large SUV and parks it squarely in the 2-minute drop-off zone, over 2 spaces I might add, at approximately 2:45 PM, waiting there until her child comes out after 3 PM. I tend to arrive early and park off to the side and read a book, so I've been observing her arguing with the duty teacher every afternoon with amusement. Yesterday I saw EM's child, clearly not new to high school, in senior uniform, so I'm just guessing that EM is just a pain in the ass about parking in general. Until today, that is. I went into the office at 2:30 PM to pay some school fees and sort out some admin stuff. I was less than impressed when I saw that EM was already at the counter, so I just sat down and waited. A side note here, we pay something called the resource scheme annually, which means the kids get up-to-date textbooks and reference material. This is non-negotiable, and a student really can't participate in schoolwork without this in place. Ian was not shy about her displeasure about having to pay it. It seems that the scheme has gone up $15 this year to allow for newer textbooks to be purchased, but EM wasn't just upset about the extra $15. EM, entitled Mother, OL, Office Lady, DP, Deputy Principal. EM said, "This is extortion. My daughter has taken the same subjects as last year. Why does she have to pay again?" The office lady then says, "The office scheme is payable as part of the school fees to ensure your daughter gets access to the best reference material." "She doesn't need it. She got senior textbooks from student who graduated last year, and she could just use those. I'm not paying it." Those textbooks were supposed to be returned. Student who graduated last year will be billed for those textbooks, and some of them are not being used this year. We have upgraded to new science textbook. Extortion! There is nothing wrong with the old textbooks. You just want to make more money. Mrs. EM, the new science textbook covers certain subjects in greater detail than the old one. Your daughter won't be able to complete classwork with outdated textbooks, and will have the old ones confiscated. EM then says, "You'll steal them from her to get more money. This is disgusting." EM continues to rant about things that only barely related to textbooks until the DP overhears and comes out of his office at the other end of the building. Deputy Principal says, "Mrs. EM, what's the problem?" She says, "This criminal is threatening to steal my daughter's textbooks." DP looks at OL, who just shrugs. Mrs. EM, our high school participates in resource scheme where the students return textbooks at the end of the year and are issued curriculum appropriate text for the new year. This ensures that all our students have access to... And she cuts him off. "Oh, I'm paying for other students." EM breaks off into another rant about how if parents can't afford books for their kids, they shouldn't be allowed into the school. It was at this point that the DP suggested they go and talk in his office. My transaction took about 10 minutes all up, and throughout it I could hear EM tearing the DP a new arsehole. After completing my business, I wanted to back out to my car and wait for my kid. At about 2:55, EM comes storming out of the office and discovers a parking flyer under her windshield. Not an actual ticket, just a flyer that advises safe parking zones, etc. The duty teacher has a stash to give new parents who aren't sure where to park when picking up/dropping off. I had a delightful opportunity to watch EM lose her shit over a piece of paper until her daughter appeared, then would drive off, exceeding the 40km/h speed limit. Alas, if only the local police had been on patrol, it would have been the cherry on top of a very entitled Sunday. Oh my god. There's people like that in every school though. I can remember parents coming in when I was younger, losing their shit over having to buy books and stuff like that. Oh dear. It just really doesn't surprise me with entitled parents no more though. Our next story is from Ral365. EM bullies people with special needs, says she never wants her kids to be like those freaks. I wasn't directly involved with this incident, but I did watch most of it. Also, I'm on mobile. NL, nice lady, EM, entitled mother. This morning, I was eating lunch at the food court at my local Price Chopper, grocery store in the USA, when I saw NL leading a group of adults who had severe special needs, ranging from Down syndrome to severe autism. They were all non-verbal, communicating only through noises and arm gestures, and so physically deformed that it was hard to tell how many were adults or kids. The NL was their caretaker, helping them decide what to order, and for other tasks they struggled with, like walking or holding a spoon. Now, I'm not saying all this to berate these people. I've grown up with kids with special needs, and I'm even on the autism spectrum myself. I only describe this group this way to give you an idea of how special needs this group was. Despite their handicaps, these people were very calm, warm, and friendly, eating without a fuss, and even giving smiles to random strangers. At one point, one of the adults started screeching loudly, enough for the whole room to hear. NL tried to calm him down, telling him that's not the way you communicate in public. Not a minute later, EM approached NL, and the conversation went something like this. EM said, excuse me mom, could you please calm down your kids? The noise is disturbing me and my kids. The EM had a toddler and a 5-year-old at her table. They seemed startled by the noise, but were now just playing with their toys. NL said, I'm so sorry mum, he doesn't mean to be loud, he just can't communicate very well, and I'm not his mum, I'm his caregiver. EM says, well, if he's an adult, he should know better not to throw a fit like a 2-year-old. My actual 2-year-old has that excuse, he doesn't. The poor guy was still whining, and now started flailing his arms around in distress. NL took a second to calm the guy down, but EM just stepped back in disgust. Ugh, he's gonna assault somebody. Then EM started shouting louder than the special needs guy was whining. Manager! Can we get a manager over here, please? Mom, please calm down, you're scaring him. Hello? Where's the manager? NL had had enough and started gathering up the other adults to go sit somewhere else. By the time an actual employee came to the scene, the group was already gone, probably on their way back to the short bus that was parked outside. The employee said, Mum, is there something wrong? EM then says, it's okay sir, the problem's gone now. EM had a smug grin on her face as she walked back to her table. She turned to her kids and said, see kids, be glad you'll never grow up to be like those freaks. At that point, I had enough. As someone who went through similar abuse in my childhood, I couldn't let this EM think she got away with her cruel actions. I reported this incident to another nearby employee. He said he'd take care of it, but I left before I could see what had happened. I was too mad to stick around any longer. Sadly, I doubt this will be the last time I see someone being so cruel to those most in need of their help. And what an awful way to end this episode. What is wrong with people, man? I don't understand how people can treat others like that. It's just so disgraceful. And she has kids herself, and teaching them this is the right way to treat other adults who've got some special needs or disabilities. It's just... It blows my mind that there's people out there like that. Do you know? It's really scary, actually. It's a scary thought that people can treat others like that. God. What do you guys make of that story? I would love to know in the comments below. I enjoyed yesterday's video when I said put a keyword in there if you made it this far. So today's keyword we're going to go with entitled moron. If you can somehow include that in your comment below to say you made it this far in the video, and be creative with it, because some of you were some real funny ones with a banana yesterday. So let's see that in the comments below. And thank you very, very much. And with that being said, if you did enjoy today's content, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell, as it massively helps this channel. I can't tell you how much of a difference it really makes. It just really does. Take my word for it. And I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.